The Pod Bay Door, a Las Vegas podcast.
And the free show, and really what it was, of course, it was homing pigeons or something, and they released them from the tower.
Yeah.
But we would have people come to the desk asking when they let the ducks out in the casino. Wynn's properties, they always had very, very organized openings where everything was open. Mm-hmm. When he opened the hotel, it was open. Mm-hmm. And when we opened the Venetian, or I should say we didn't actually do it, we were just there for the...
Yeah,
we were the poor bastards at the gate.
Yeah. So season 5, John.
Season 5, wow.
I know, it's crazy.
It's like Breaking Bad or something.
Right? Our downloads are doing well. We get new people all the time, which is really nice. In fact, at the end of the show here, I've got a couple of questions for us.
Okay.
Controversial questions.
Oh, good. Did anybody call us an asshole?
No. These are informational.
Okay.
No Gal Gadot problems. Although, what a giant failure Wonder Woman was.
Oh, yeah. Well, the movie sucked.
It was not good.
It wasn't good.
You know, I mean, I enjoy all films. I really do. I'm a huge film buff and watcher. But the quality of film that I expect now from a superhero film, you know, when I'm in the mood for it, wow. It was silly.
Well, the first 15, you know, the first part there, the race part, that was okay.
I enjoyed that with the
little girl. I enjoyed that, the little girl.
Little Wonder Woman.
Yeah, little Wonder Woman. And then after that, it just took a nosedive, I thought.
There were two scenes. Yeah, I totally agree with that. There were two scenes I thought were good. One was that one, and the other one was when she basically had to push away and say goodbye to Chris Pine's character.
Yeah.
That was great. And the movie was way too long.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. And she looks great in that skimpy little outfit, but that's not enough. It's just not enough.
No, it's not enough. Good to see Linda. Did you see the end credit scene with Linda Carter?
Yes, I did.
Oh, good to see that.
Yes.
Because she's Wonder Woman.
Yeah, she is. She's the real one.
That's the way it is.
Yeah, she still looks, I mean, for her age, I mean, I guess she's in her 70s, yeah?
Yeah.
Has to be.
Yeah.
You know, I was surprised. I saw that Tanya Roberts had died.
Passed away. Oh,
and
I know.
what surprised me was because I remember when she was on Charlie's Angels, and I was just a teenager.
Yes.
And she's only a couple years older than me. I just assumed that, you know, like Farrah Fawcett and the others, they were more like 10 years older than me.
Yeah.
Which would have made her, you know, early 70s. But no.
She was in if I'm not mistaken, she was in one of the classic films that I enjoyed as a kid, Beastmaster, with Mark Singer, I believe his name was. Terrible film.
Yeah.
Just awful.
Bad.
But one of those guilty pleasures. So we're going to do the history of.
History of.
And it's going to be a series. May not be in a row, but we're definitely going to open up season 5 with the history of. And I thought with all the happenings here in Vegas in the last few weeks, especially one that affected us directly.
Yeah.
We would start with the history of our alma mater, the Venetian.
Yeah. Of
course, Sheldon Adelson was the owner. His estate, of course, and family are still the owner.
Yeah.
But he has passed away. In the financial world, it was a big deal. You know, he did make inroads and giant steps in Las Vegas. Some positive, some not so much. So he was, whether you liked him or not, I do think he was an influencer.
Yeah.
With the correct usage of the word, he very much changed the landscape of Las Vegas when it was changing back in the day. He's now gone. Rob Goldstein.
Yeah.
Whom you and I have.
He was a good guy.
Yeah. I mean, we weren't friends, of course, but we met him many times.
Yeah.
He was always a very cordial individual. I think he showed to me when we were having difficulties in our department back in the day, that he was able to, you know, assist with that type of situation. We'll see.
Yeah.
Kind of like we'll see with Sleepy.
Yeah.
Old Joe. We'll see how Joe does. We'll see how Rob does.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so I'm going to start with some things you can find about the Venetian's history, and then you and I will infuse some of the things that people don't know.
Yeah.
Now, some of the things that are public record, I am ashamed to say, after all these years, I either don't remember or didn't know.
Yeah.
The Venetian Hotel, of course, is located on Las Vegas Boulevard. It's on the Las Vegas Strip, and it resides in Paradise, Nevada.
Yeah.
And it's on the old Sands property.
Yep.
It was designed by a company called Kling Stubbins,
Mm.
who are still running today. But they are a very respected architectural firm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they did a really good job. I have to give them credit.
Its original measurements, which may have changed a little bit, but we're talking just the Venetian Tower now.
Yeah.
36 stories.
Yep.
475 feet or 145 meters. And we'll get to the room stats in a minute because they actually combine the Venetian into a complex to then give it the second largest hotel in the world.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's fair.
No, I don't know if that is either. Now,
I think it should be a single building.
The other thing was, and it always was curious to me, because there were, when we first opened, they had 3,036 rooms. That was just drilled into my head. I'll never forget that number. Yeah. And I know they expanded it afterwards. They added like 1,000 rooms after I left, but while you were still there.
Yes.
And we know that there were 36 floors, but there wasn't the 13th. I mean, there is a 13th floor, but they called it the 14th because they just skipped that. So does that mean there's really only 35 stories?
I'm not sure how they calculate it. It doesn't really...
And of course, they had maybe a basement or the lower level where they had the Sands, or the convention center. Maybe that counted as one.
So these are in no particular order. It's owned by the Las Vegas Sands Corporation, which is sort of a catch-all for the parent of the Venetian as well. It opened. You remember when it opened?
May 5th, I think, or 7th, 1999.
3rd.
Was it May 3rd?
They quote it May 3rd.
Okay.
And that would make it 21 years, John.
Yeah. Man. I knew it was early May, and I knew that the date kept changing.
Yes.
And we had what they called a soft opening, which meant it was a shitty opening.
Yes.
Now, compared to Steve Wynn's properties, they always had very, very organized openings where everything was open. Mm-hmm. When he opened the hotel, it was open. Mm-hmm. And when we opened the Venetian, or I should say we didn't actually do it, we were just there for the... we were the poor bastards at the gate.
Yes.
The shops were not open on the second floor. Most of the rooms had not been tested, meaning that they didn't know if the toilets flushed properly and what have you.
Right.
They didn't even have, if you remember, Sophia Loren came for the opening.
Yes.
And she couldn't even stay in the hotel because the fire marshal hadn't approved it. She had to stay at the Mirage, which was Steve Wynn's property. So there was a point for him.
I had also heard that was more of a choice of hers as well. So,
oh, is that right?
Yeah, it was a mutual decision to not stay at the Venetian that day.
Yeah. And also, of course, the Mirage had the bungalows. They had that, which we didn't have anything like that. Yeah. So we opened with the Cheesecake Factory, which was
two restaurants actually.
Yep, and we had Delmonico's, right? We had the high-end Emerald Lagasse restaurant, and we had the Grand Lux Cafe, I think it was called. Maybe it's still called that, and that was owned by the Cheesecake Factory, which is fine for everyday stuff. But people coming in for these 15 restaurants, 16 restaurants, 15 of them aren't open, right?
Yeah. It was always fun for you and I. In fact, you and I were on the front line. Literally, we were the ones out front when they opened the doors, when they finally got their certificate of occupancy, and the doors flew open.
Yep.
And we were the ones that had to say about the two restaurants.
Yeah.
And yes, Delmonico is open, and no, you can't get in. We had to. It was no, you can't get in. I don't believe I booked a single person into that restaurant.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So okay. So May 3rd, 1999, 21 years. Its theme, of course, is Venice, Italy. Gaming space is 120 of the Venetian now.
Yeah.
Is 120,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Rooms now this is where it changes. It's also very much known for the Grand Canal shops, which we'll discuss in a moment. Now, to get the second largest hotel in the world. Yeah. First being the sister property in Macau.
Yeah. Oh, is that bigger now?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the number one.
Wow.
It's going to change in 21 a lot, though. To get the second largest, they include the Palazzo and Venezia. And they quote their rooms as 4,049 rooms, 3,068 suites.
Okay. So that's so combined, that's 7,000?
Yes.
Over 7,000, because we know that the MGM was over 5,000, but they
Right.
counted broom closets or something like that.
Right,
Or there
exactly.
was, or it was the Oriental Hotel in Bangkok had been the largest, and I've been
Yes.
to that hotel too,
Mhm.
and that's a really nice hotel.
Yeah. Now, it was announced in April of 1996
Yeah.
that this project was a go.
Yeah,
In November of 96, the Sands was imploded,
yeah.
and in April of
And
97,
then in '99, you and I imploded.
yes, in April of 97, there was the groundbreaking, and then they opened May 3rd.
Yeah.
The total cost of the Venetian, now at the time it was only the Venetian,
Right.
was 1.5
Billion. Yes, I know it was
Yes.
north of $1 billion.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then in 2003,
Yeah, that's when
the Venezia opened with 1,000.
Oh, is that what they called it?
Yes.
Yeah, I just knew it as the tower, the new tower.
Yes.
And then I left when
The Venezia Tower
I escaped.
opened with 1,013 rooms.
Okay, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
So that was included in their count.
Yeah.
Which I think that's cheating.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they cheat. It's Las Vegas, right? I mean,
Now here we get into the controversial stuff, but back to the opening. Yeah, it was. We've talked about this a couple of times on the podcast, but if anyone out there has ever opened something, I mean a business,
yeah,
that has a brick and mortar, basically,
yeah,
it is exciting. And so basically, May 3rd, 12 weeks prior to May 3rd, we were hired and started our training. And if anybody wants to know what casino or hotel training is like, it is the most haphazard,
yeah,
wild, kind of fun
yeah.
thing that
They make it up as they go along.
They make it up as you go along. Most of us were hired because of certain traits of ours.
Yeah, we were kind of like the X-Men.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah,
the Mod Squad, right?
yeah. Very few of us, I think maybe two, had any concierge bell direct background.
Yeah.
I certainly didn't.
No, but you could tell because okay, well, you know, I know why they're hiring me. You know, I mean, I spoke Japanese and I was the oldest one.
Yeah.
So they wanted to stick me out there because Adelson liked old concierge.
Yeah. Yes,
and I said, well, I see why they're hiring her because she's got big tits.
Yeah. But we spent 12 weeks in the basement of the Venetian.
Yeah.
During which time we were actually given the opportunity, both for a professional reason and because it was very nice to go around and look. We were given hard hat tours. We had to wear boots and hard hats, and we took a tour of the Venetian as it was being built. And quite honestly, I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
it was so fun to see that, and amazing. I would have bet money that the last time we took a hard hat tour, I said, "There's no way they're going to be ready."
Yeah.
Sure enough, I mean, they flipped those suckers around. Now, not to say there wasn't a lot of blue tape everywhere.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and there were certain things were open, other things weren't. You know, like I said, the second floor, it looked the canal shops.
Right.
And, you know, I said that wasn't ready at all. And there's still wheelbarrows and stuff like that on the day that we opened.
Right.
And there really wasn't much there. And, you know, there was the casino. They had to get that open to start drawing in money.
Sure.
And then little by little. And then they would get pissed at us when they opened the shop. And the guy'd come down. You didn't tell anybody my shoe store's open. Well, we didn't know it was open.
Yeah.
And nobody came and asked me, where can I buy a pair of $400 sandals?
Yeah.
You know.
I know it was a very like I tell people all the time. It was professionally, it was the most unique thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
I met some wonderful people. I met some decidedly not wonderful people.
Yeah.
I would say that it gave me a taste for what the hospitality industry really is.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I mean hotels.
Yeah.
Gaming is a little different.
Yeah.
It affected us, but to a point. It was mainly the hotel and the hospitality. Don't kid yourself. It's anything from hospitable. It is a very difficult job.
You know, and the thing was, we spent 12 weeks or however long we were down there in the basement.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff, like we said, it was haphazard, but really, honestly, nothing prepared us for what happened.
No.
We would have these, you know, we would have the role plays and the scenarios.
Yeah.
And no matter how much somebody tries to pretend that they're the bitchy hotel guest, you still look at them and say, that's my colleague.
Yeah.
You know, I know
You're
that we're
right.
pretending, but no. And the stuff that they came up with to argue about or to complain about, you know, you just couldn't make this up. Right. You know, you come down the front desk really had it even worse than we did.
Yes.
Because they would come, are you the person I complained to? I said, no, the front desk. Because they would come down there with a ball of tissue paper and a toenail on the top. Say, I found this under the bed. Anything to get $50 off their bill.
Yeah.
You know, and I told the hotel manager once, I said, why do you do that? Well, I don't want to bother with that. I said, yeah, but now they encourage everybody else to do it.
Yeah.
You know, there's a you know, a booger on the nightstand.
Yeah.
And you know, I can't. The pain. So here's $50. Oh, okay, I feel much better now. Thank you.
It's better. Most of the things that people, I'm not saying the job was hard. It was not a difficult job, but the atmosphere and the job requirements were hard on you. It is an oppressive job.
Yeah.
Any job in hospitality.
Yeah, and you know, it to me, it reminded me. You know, it's an old metaphor of people comparing something new to driving, right? When you're first learning to drive, you're sweaty, you're nervous.
Right.
You got two hands on the steering wheel and you're clutching it and you're trying to remember everything. Okay, look in the rearview mirror. I want to change lanes. What do I do first? Okay, I signal to look over my shoulder. Okay, it's clear. Now I move. And then it becomes automatic to the point where you can drive for 100 miles and not even realize you've gone anywhere because your mind is elsewhere. And that's how this job was. Right? Because it was so repetitive. Once we got the process down, we do this and then I do that. And then to the point where, okay, what restaurant do you want? Where can I get into? Well, there's Smith & Walensky. Let me call them. And I didn't have to look up the number because I just knew it off the top of my head.
Right.
And boom.
That was nice. That was a nice part that we had all that, you know, it locked in our head.
Yes, we had that, and then it goes into the system they had there. Whatever they called it, we called it the grade 8.
Grade 8.
Yeah. It would go in the system, or you'd write it out on a card. Because remember, before that, we even had note cards.
We had note cards. Yeah.
Yeah, when we first started, we didn't even have electronics because we didn't have internet at the desk. And we had to fight for that, and they didn't want to give it to us because they were so afraid we were going to be looking at porn.
Yes.
Well, I mean, we did, but you know, that was only when we weren't busy.
Right.
Accidental.
That's fine.
That was that was it.
But okay, now we continue with some numbers. We love the numbers here at the Pod Bay. In 2000, now these are some things that are some of I knew one. This one coming up. I knew one. In 2004. The Venetian, or the Sands, paid a $1 million fine for what was found out to be a rigged slot game.
Yeah. Mike French took the fall for that.
Mike French, yes. It was a gentleman by the name of Mike French, and he was an unpleasant fellow.
Yeah, and he was the vice president at that time of gaming, right? Of gaming.
Yes.
And then, I looked him up. I Googled him not long ago. Yeah. Well, long ago, a few years ago. Yeah. And where was he? Vice president of gaming at Macau.
There you go.
Venetian. So that's it. They fire him from one job and hire him at the next. That's a bunch of bullshit.
But the situation, if you don't know it, and so a lot of people here in Vegas don't know it, slot machines often have what are called carousels, and those carousels are either just slot machines. They have slot machines with that will constantly add money to a pot, and then there are ones where you can win a car.
Yeah,
and this had to do with a Mercedes that was suddenly won by one of the high rollers of the Venetian.
Yeah, guy from Hong Kong. I think.
From Hong Kong. Yeah. And somewhere down the line, somebody
blew the whistle,
and they paid that to the gaming commission. So $1 million.
Yeah, because they rigged it so that guy could win because he had. I mean, as if this guy, with the amount of money that he was playing with, as if he needed another car.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now the next point of note, 2010, the Venetian became associated. This is the only word I could find in 3 different articles.
All right.
With the Intercontinental Hotel Group. Now, I've stayed in Intercontinentals.
Yeah.
I cannot find anything listed in their corporate charter about a relationship, but they're associated with them in
I
2010.
see.
Yes.
It kind of sounds like one of those airline alliances. Like you got a flight on American Airlines. It's actually a
Right.
Japan Airline plane you're getting on,
Yeah.
and all the staff is paid by Japan Airlines, but it's American
But it's
Airlines.
American Airlines.
Yeah, I get that.
And a year later, 2010, they opened up the Cantor, Cantor, sports book. It was the first of its kind. Actually, it was the first 24-hour sports book.
Oh, is that right?
Didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah. It was nicely laid out. I wouldn't say it was more accessible maybe than Caesar's. Caesar's is a great book.
Yeah.
But it was nice. It was nice. A year later, they started the Carnevale, which was a celebration throughout the hotel. If you remember, that's when they started in earnest. The singers, the acrobats.
Yeah.
And it was hotel-wide, plus I don't remember this, a 3D projection on the clock tower.
I don't remember that either.
I don't remember that
What
at
year
all.
was that?
2012.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we didn't work there, but we lived here. I don't remember them doing that. But I do remember for a very short time, they had the pigeon show and the free show. And really what it was, of course, it was homing pigeons or something, and they released them from the tower.
Yeah.
But we would have people come to the desk asking when they let the ducks out in the casino. That's great. That's what you want, is a flock of birds flying over the table games.
Yeah.
Dropping bird turds all over the felt. Right?
They were marketed as doves. They were actually pigeons, and people asked for ducks.
Yes.
Yeah, and of course they released them in the hotel.
Yes, and this was before Duck Dynasty, right? This was
yeah. And what's funny is it's interesting people thought that, because in many cultures and communities, a bird in a building is extremely bad luck.
Yeah.
And in some cultures it means that there's going to be a death.
Yeah. That's a bad. I mean, particularly, we all know about we've heard the stories about the MGM having to redo the front of the hotel because of it. So particularly with Asian cultures, we saw this is it. And Asian cultures, a lot of them, like the Chinese, like to gamble. Those are the ones that come over from Hong Kong, where have you. So they wanted to appeal to the Asian players, and they didn't want to come in the mouth of the lion.
Right. Right.
That
was a huge change.
Luck.
Yeah. It was a nice change. The new lion is far better, obviously. But
there are certain other things. Having lived in Japan, they have their own superstitions. You never take the chopsticks and stick them in the rice bowl.
Yeah, that one even
ever do it.
Yeah.
Do that in a restaurant with Japanese, just to watch their reaction and see what happens. It's just like,
oh
my God, because you see when somebody dies and they're cremated, this is pretty gruesome.
Yeah.
But they pass the bones to the family members around the table with chopsticks.
Oh.
That's the other thing you don't do ever. I mean, if you're ever in a restaurant and you pick something up, fish or something, oh, you want to taste it? Don't hand it chopstick to chopstick.
Okay.
No, because of that whole idea of passing the dead bones around.
I see.
And they come around, and then at the final end, when they've got the thing there, they stick the hashi, the chopsticks, into the pile of ashes and stuff. So,
oh my,
yeah, so
that's interesting.
Yeah,
and that makes it very clear.
Yeah.
So a year after the Carnevale, we have 2013, another little brush with the law.
Oh,
the DOJ fined the Venetian and found enough evidence to do so. $47.4 million for money laundering.
Nice.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Even, they were so uptight about things. We used to say in the old days, of course, money laundering was pretty easy. I understand why the good old days when Las Vegas pretty much had its own currency, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you could use a chip. You could take a gaming chip and use it at the supermarket. They accepted it.
Right.
And you could go to, the Bellagio, obviously, and the Venetian weren't around back in the day, in the old day, but you could go take a chip from, if it were today, the Bellagio and spend it freely, put it on the table at the Venetian. It was...
Yeah, they were called foreign chips, foreign checks.
But they accepted, but no. So how were they laundering the money?
I think it was a bookkeeping. It was just shoddy bookkeeping.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we all know, the owners of it. It had to do with transfer of funds that were incongruous to the money laundering laws out of country.
Oh.
Beyond that, it was too much legalese to read through.
And I had read in a book on a book written by a Japanese journalist. Actually, he wasn't a Japanese. He was an American guy but he lived in Japan a long time. I think he was half Japanese.
Right.
And he was, but he wrote for one of the newspapers, and there was this, one of the stories of a Yakuza who would launder money through the MGM, because he would go over there and play and gamble, and then he would take money out and put it in. Well, it was all black market money. That he was putting on deposit at the MGM, and then he was laundering it that way.
Well, okay, so that's the fun stuff. I didn't know the money laundering part. I knew obviously the slot game misstep. Yeah. But back to the Venetian itself, people always ask us, pardon me, what parts of Venice do they recreate? So I made a small list. This is not complete, but it's a small list. And pardon my pronunciation, but we have the inside the Venetian, or outside the Venetian, or inside the Grand Canal shops. These all will appear in one way or another. One that's not mentioned is the Doge Palace entrance, which is most notably outside on Las Vegas Boulevard. It's right there. Also near the Rialto Bridge. Which is here.
And the other trivia that if it was that the marble used in the Venetian and the floors and the columns were taken out of the same quarry in Italy that was used to make the original Doge Palace in Venice.
Yes.
That was one of the things
that was drilled into us.
Yes.
Many times. And also not mentioned on my list, I remember, is the Bridge of Sighs.
Yes, Bridge of Sighs was there.
Which was in Italy. It's also between two buildings, but it's a very unremarkable situation. The only reason it's remarkable is because there's so many people there to see it. But it's a little tiny bridge where prisoners would go across to their demise. They would one would say they would sigh through the bars as their lives were soon to be taken. But here's what's there. The Palazzo Ducale.
It's also the title of a really good Robin Trower album.
Yes.
Bridge of Sighs, just throwing that out
true.
there.
So we have the Palazzo Ducale. The Piazza San Marco. The Piazzetta di San Marco. The Lion of Venice, which is the lion on top of the tower at St. Mark's Square. St. Mark's Campanile, which is St. Mark's Square. The Rialto Bridge, we mentioned. And our favorite, which was right in front of us for so many years, the Armillary Sphere.
That's right, in the fountain.
In the fountain, where people stole the money, peed in the fountain, threw up in the fountain,
and then the woman
and got in the fountain.
And sometimes they took. I remember there was a Michael Jackson documentary or something, and he was in front of it.
Yes,
and they took his picture when he was there, and.
Now, a few special attractions that happened in October of 2001, I didn't remember this year, is when the Guggenheim was installed.
Oh, yes.
In the left side of the entrance of the Venetian.
They had one exhibit.
They had one exhibit, and then skipping way ahead, 14 years, 2015, we in the Grand Canal shops, we welcomed Tao, which claimed to have a $50 million revenue first year. I kind of doubt that.
Tao went in before Tao, wasn't it the Warner Brothers family restaurant or
Warner
something
Brothers,
like that?
No, exactly it.
And
then the next thing that's going to happen is the MSO Sphere, which is a multi-level entertainment complex.
Kind of be like the, I guess, is it going to be as big as the T-Mobile?
No,
I don't think I'll see 12,000, but maybe 6 or 8.
Something like that. We've yet to see any numbers because they had to suspend everything.
It's funny, when the Venetian opened, as opulent as it was still missing things that people expected, like a good show.
That's our next subject.
Okay, good. Because it really didn't have anything. And then they got high culture, right? And after we left, or at least after I left, they had Phantom of the Opera.
Yes.
I think probably after you left too, because I saw it after I moved back here.
Were
you already there?
Well, let's start. We opened in 2005. We welcomed the Blue Man Group. And then
that was after my time. Before that, we had Andrew Dice Clay, Melinda, First Lady of Magic, and Charo.
And Charo, yes. But in 2005, we had the Blue Man Group. They left in 2012.
Okay.
Long and went to the Monte Carlo.
Oh, right.
From 2000,
And they came here from the Luxor.
Yes.
Here meaning the Venetian,
Correct,
right?
correct,
Yeah, I
yes.
remember that.
In 2006 through 2012, we had Phantom.
Yeah. I saw one of the last performances because they started selling tickets half price, and I went there.
In 2012, for a brief stint, we welcoming Tim McGraw and Faith Hill with their new album.
Yeah, I was working for a different McGraw-Hill at the time. Yeah.
Right. Since they've really had unremarkable shows. Right now, I believe they still have, in the smaller theater size, Human Nature, which is the Australian singing group.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And didn't they have other like people like the Judds or something like that mother daughter, and you can't tell which one's which?
Much like the Tim McGraw and Faith Hill for
a very short residency.
It was before they called it residency.
Yeah. They were there just basically for a stay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like it's like a way station for those they're putting you out to pasture. Yeah. You're an entertainer.
Right.
And the way station is, here you are, and there you go. We also had, if you remember, Andre Philippe Gagnon.
Yes.
Was that who it was?
Yes.
And of course, the other guy, Edie Gourmet's husband.
Robert Goulet.
Robert Goulet, before he died.
Yes, I don't know what happened to Gagnon. Of course, Goulet is now gone.
Yeah, but Goulet, remember, he was four-walling, meaning he was renting the building. The hotel didn't hire him, but he was renting the building, and he wasn't selling. He didn't want us to sell his tickets.
Correct.
Because he wouldn't give us any money for it, right? I mean, Melinda would throw us quite a bit because her show was shit.
Yeah.
But anyhow, but Goulet says, "I'm Robert Goulet. I don't need any help selling tickets." Okay. I mean, somebody came to the desk and asked for him. We sold it to him.
Boy, he did need help.
And then he tanked because he was there and he's singing his guts out to an empty. You're not even making rent on it.
I know. And he was a good performer.
Yeah.
His generation didn't show up for it.
Yeah.
And Melinda was with Lance Burton back then.
Originally, she had started out as Lance Burton's assistant.
Right.
And then they got married. And then she got a boob job.
Right.
And then she got her own gig where she started to do, Lance Burton was a talented and skilled magician.
And he primarily performed at Monte Carlo.
Yes. And he did a classic old-time magic show where he did both sleight of hand for stage and he did the illusions.
Right.
Well, Melinda, the illusions pretty much, it's choreography. So a lot of that is we call the assistants box jumpers, because that's usually what they do. They just jump out of a box. Mm-hmm. So there really isn't a great deal of technical skill. Yeah. There's, like I said, it's choreography and acting and that sort of performance. So she got her own illusions and put on her own show.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And she, I still have an autographed picture of her, by the way. Yes. And she was good. I mean, she was good for what it was. It was a second tier.
Yeah.
Go have some fun.
Yeah.
And a pretty girl up on stage.
And the problem was it was $75 a ticket back then.
Yeah.
It was an expensive ticket, and it was Venetian, and people would complain because of that. And I think we got our desk got like $25 a ticket.
Yeah. And with whom did they complain?
Us. That's what we were. We were a waste depository department. That's what they should have put on. They should have just put an icon of a toilet. Come crap in the ears here. That says, bring your shit here.
So here's a brief little history of Venetian in film.
Okay.
In 2001, the Venetian, I remember this very clearly.
Yes.
Rat Race.
Rat Race. I still got a copy of the script. They left it on the desk. I didn't steal it, but they left a copy of the script that they filmed there.
Yes.
And they had our desk taped off.
Yes. And not a good film.
No, I didn't really see it. It was too bad. It had a good cast. I know it had Rowan Atkinson, I think John Cleese.
Yeah.
But, I don't think I saw it.
It was they filmed right in front of us.
Yeah, that's right. And I think it was supposed to have been kind of like a modern day Mad World, which is a great movie.
Yeah.
That is a classic from the the ensemble cast of guys that had little scenes 60s. In there. That's the 60s. For the time that movie came out, it was hilarious.
It was wonderful. Yeah. I remember.
Yep.
And think of note, they copied our rooms, our suites at the Venetian, which were notable back then. They're still okay now. And it looks like they're there, but they actually copied them and built them on a soundstage in Canada.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was 2001. 2005, we enjoyed Miss Congeniality.
Oh.
Yes.
You know what
Go
else
ahead.
they did? If I remember, they also did a Sylvester Stallone movie, Get Carter.
Get Carter.
Most
Yes.
of it was filmed downtown.
Yep.
But I remember having the deal with somebody wanting it wasn't real, but it was a gun they had to put in a hotel safe
Right.
because it was a prop.
Prop.
And they
Yes.
had to use it. But they did some of that filming at the Venetian for that. They also did a CSI episode.
Yes.
I remember that because I asked him. I says, "Hey, I'm just saying, if I said CSI. I mean, I hadn't seen the show because I really don't watch TV, but I'd heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a murder in the hotel. I'm just saying, if you need somebody to be the murderer, I volunteer. Murdered the guest, it was me, or the concierge. I'm just saying, put it in your story.
Yes.
They didn't listen to me.
And we were also in 2005. We were in a show called, and I've seen this actually a couple times. It's called Mega Structures.
Oh.
And it's about the building of large,
Yeah.
things.
Well, they did a History Channel, I think it was History Channel or Learning Channel, documentary on the building of the Venetian. They didn't interview you or me, but they did interview our colleague Danny.
Yes. Yes.
Remember, she was on there
Yeah,
for,
I do.
Daniela was on there. And briefly, I think Nicole Tagliati, our manager at the time, she was on there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then lastly on the list is 2013. The Venetian was the home base for What Not to Wear.
Oh.
I know nothing about the show.
Huh.
Yeah.
Never heard of it myself. But, is that right?
Okay, John. Now try to remember.
There was also a trivia question. I remember the producers of a quiz show. It wasn't Jeopardy, but it was like Jeopardy.
Right.
And they had called to verify that we had the largest standard suite in the world.
Yes.
And I said, well, there is a plaque that says so back of the house. I'm just telling you what they say. And then I got scolded for that because I didn't immediately transfer the call to their public relations people.
Yes.
Because I answered the guy's question. Because that's what I'm there for.
Yeah, the plaque. Yeah. Oh,
yes.
Yeah. There was a plaque, and there were people always ask about the this is sort of the section here, secrets.
Yeah.
About the plaque for the
Rat Pack, the Copa Room
lounge,
the
Copa Room.
Yeah.
That. It never really existed.
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah.
For a time during our tenure there, they kind of glued something there that this was because so many people asked.
Yeah, and it was wrong.
And it was wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was not. It was they glued it to where they could glue it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't where it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But there were some secrets about that. There was a secret stairway off of the elevators that you could get to the back of the building.
Yeah.
But you could also get locked in the stairwell right there.
Yeah, that was nasty.
Careful.
Remember, they moved our telecom for a spell, but while they were doing some construction, and we had to go up those back stairs.
Yes,
and you could easily get locked in there if you didn't know which way you were going.
At which time you would have to go all the way down the stairs, all the way outside to Las Vegas Boulevard, and all the way back into the front of the building.
Yep.
That was fun.
Yeah,
and we laughed at people when they did it. Now, the one thing most notably not mentioned on our list, what do you think?
Well, how many bomb scares did we have? There were people calling in bombs. Remember, they actually, I
was forced outside 3 times.
It happens so often that they actually had a laminated card remember that in the telecom to go over the questions, right? And then I called in the bogus one to our colleague because I knew he was going to answer the phone.
The last one I remember was done by a kid.
Okay.
That emptied the building. I was emptied along with all the rest of the staff 3 times.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think all we ever knew was one time Mr. Adelson called to see. But he was calling to see if the building was still there.
Yeah.
He wanted to make sure everybody was safe. No, he didn't. He didn't give a shit. He wanted to make sure his building was still there. Did anything go off?
Yeah.
Because he had it insured anyway. He wanted to make sure the premium was paid up.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
The bomb scares.
Yeah.
No, what's not mentioned, and it's probably the biggest secret everybody knows, is the gondolas.
Yeah.
If you haven't been here at in Las Vegas and gone to the Venetian on the 2nd floor in the Grand Canal shops, they have a canal.
Yeah.
And it flows through the shopping area. It's actually quite beautiful. It is
lovely. Nice. It's pretty. But it is a shopping center.
It's a shopping center, a very expensive shopping center.
Yeah.
And they have flowing through that can take guests are gondolas with singing gondoliers.
Yeah.
Now, for the longest time, we knew that the gondolas had motors.
Yeah.
And people wondered why they had motors. Well, there's two reasons why they had motors. One of which was to more efficiently move the gondolas to one end or the other or into their repair area. And the second reason, John and I both all knew too well, is because in Las Vegas, a lot of our patronage tend to be quite heavy.
Yeah, they sank the damn
And
thing.
they sank the gondolas, and then the poor gondoliers who were actually controlling it, couldn't push it, and so they turned on the motor.
You know, I would get the question sometimes that the gondoliers, are they actually from Venice? And I would say, yes, they're from Venice. California.
right.
Because they were just actors. I mean, there was one guy, I remember, where have I seen you before? Well, he did the yodeling or something at the Excalibur. You know?
Right.
He was he was.
But I have to give them all the credit in the world, because not only are they dealing with the public, they're pushing a boat and singing.
And they had to sing, and the thing was, they had to do the accent. They had to speak with the Italian accent.
Yeah.
And they had to be in character even on their lunch break.
I know.
I mean, one of the guys would just whisper to me basically in his natural voice, because otherwise, they had their name. They all had to have the Italian name, which wasn't theirs, because, Ernie just doesn't cut it.
Right.
It's got to be Ernesto, or it's got to be, Giuseppe or something like that.
Yeah. Now, another secret people always used to ask me, they thought that we ate the food from the restaurants. We would go to the restaurants every day. That's not true.
No.
However, I have to say, the Venetian, for most of the time we were there, the staff went to an EDR, which is the employee dining room.
Yeah.
And our food was fresh. It was not, scraped off the buffet from the people.
In fact, actually, the stuff that was scraped off the buffet, I mean, we didn't have we had the dinners, right? I mean, they had conferences.
Yes.
So they would have a conference, which was a nice dinner.
Right.
And if you timed it right, you could get one of those that was left over.
Yes.
I mean, it wasn't like it was eaten. It was not touched, right? I mean, they expected 500 people and they got 460.
Right.
So they had 40 left over. Usually the desserts, those are the good ones.
Yes, and that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if they were being nice to us in the beginning, cooking us fresh food, or because we didn't have a buffet.
Yeah.
Nothing to draw from.
Yeah.
And most of the not most, 50% of the restaurants were, like you said, they were renting space, like Delmonico. They weren't owned by the Venetian, so we couldn't take their food. So no, we did not eat at, we were invited to eat at the restaurant so we could speak intelligently on them, about them. But no, we didn't. We were not spoiled
occasionally
like that.
A few of the restaurants gave us free dinner there once, and that was I remember Postrio, which was Wolfgang Puck.
Yeah.
Canaletto, which was owned by the Il Fornaio group.
Il Fornaio,
yeah, that was two. I got one from at that time Star Canyon.
Yeah.
And Zeffirino.
Yes.
Now, as far as I know, of those restaurants, only Canaletto is still there.
Canaletto is still there.
But Postrio moved out.
Yes.
They're gone. Zeffirino moved out. That's now Smith & Wolenski's location.
Yes.
And Star Canyon's gone too.
At the time, Zeffirino was outstanding.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was. They had the best pesto.
Oh, yeah.
What do you expect? They're Genovese. So.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But Star Canyon left many, many years ago.
Yeah, and what I understood was Stephen Piles, who owned it.
Yeah.
He became the White House chef because of George W. Bush being in there, and he was from Texas. That's what I heard. Now, I forgot what replaced it, or... but something else.
It's been replaced a couple times.
Yeah. And they closed the Aquanox. That got closed too. Now, that didn't go out of business because... business was bad.
Yeah.
It went out because the Venetian pulled their lease.
Yeah.
Saying we're going to want something else in here. So, and that was the other thing we had to deal with. If somebody had a problem with one of the restaurants, they didn't like something, they came and complained to us. Well, sorry, but we don't own it.
Yeah.
You're going to have to go to management there. Well, they told me to basically go suck a fart out their ass. Yeah. Okay, well, I tell you the same thing.
Yeah. And they often told them to go talk to us. For sure.
Right.
All right, so that is a brief history of the Venetian. However, to end today's first season 5 episode, we have 2 questions.
Okay,
both of which are kind of controversial.
Good.
Which one? One's to me, one's to you. Which one do you want?
Well, let me hear yours first. Let's hear how controversial it is.
This is from Jeffrey from Facebook. I think Jeffrey asks us a lot of questions.
Okay, good for Jeffrey.
I don't know if it's the same Jeffrey, but it's Jeffrey.
Good.
Jamie, Is it true the phones are monitored and in parentheses bugged in the hotel? Jeffrey,
Yeah.
I have a comment on this one.
Yes.
Now, I cannot speak on the hotel phone. Speak about the hotel phones.
Yeah.
John mentioned earlier in this episode about being in telecom. Telecom is actually the departmental name for PBX or the operators.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they are who control the phones. And so when you dial 0 in your room, it goes to telecom.
Yeah.
We were there in telecom, and to my knowledge and by my observation, I saw nothing that could tell me that they were listening in on the phones. Quite honestly, with that many rooms, that would be almost a Herculean task.
Yeah,
It would be impossible.
It's kind of like the eye in the sky. The
Yeah.
eye in the sky really isn't there to watch the guests. It's there to watch us.
Yes.
And they did bug our concierge phone.
Yes, and that's what I was going to say.
Yes.
I can tell you, I can attest with absolute certainty that they did listen into our phone calls at our department, the concierge department, and unfortunately they did it inappropriately. They did it without telling us.
Yeah.
Nowadays you get in a huge amount of trouble if you
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
let people know. Back then, not so much. They kind of skirted the issue, but they inappropriately listened into our phones because they wanted to make sure we were using the right verbiage and selling in the right restaurants and doing and
Yeah.
so forth. I personally had a situation that pretty much brought me down the pathway to leaving
Yeah.
with that issue. And I, much like John and the rest of the staff that I started with, it became almost impossible to work in that department because
Yeah.
of the changes that happened.
And the only way we found out was they had a problem with the phone, and the guy from the phone company came to fix it. And
Yeah.
he mentioned it.
Right.
He said, "Well, they can, they listen." No, we didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. This line here, it goes all the way. Yeah. They monitor all your phone calls without telling you.
So Jeffrey, feel free to stay at the Venetian. Use
Yeah.
the phone. I don't believe they give a rat's ass about what you're saying on it.
Yeah.
But if you work for the Venetian, let me tell you.
Yeah, but if you do call down to the concierge desk,
Yeah.
they might be listening to
They're going to
that
be
call.
listening. Yeah. So yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So all right. Well, here's yours, John.
All right.
Jameson from
Okay.
Twitter.
Yeah.
John,
Yeah.
did guests ever ask you to do illegal things?
Yes. Well, did they? I mean, I got to think about it in more. I mean, here, of course, prostitution is legal to a point, right? I mean, I could send them to the brothel. If they're just looking for girls, I could just send them to the Oculus Lounge. They'll be
Yeah.
there and they'll find you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I could give them that direction.
Sure.
We did arrange for escorts now and then. Again, that comes out of the phone book, right? Other than that, nobody asked me for drugs. Oh, one guy did. One guy asked me, are you the guy I talked to about scoring dubage? That was his words. Scoring dubage. And I was like, no, go see Jerome over on MLK Boulevard, right? I said, no, man, we can't handle it. This was long before anything was legal here. I couldn't even
Right.
send him to a dispensary. So that was one request that I ever got for anything that was illegal.
I can count on one hand the number of times that somebody asked me for drugs.
Yeah.
And that's funny you say about the escorts. I had a little issue. I think we've
Yeah.
talked about that in
Yeah.
the previous
Yeah.
episode. Never hand the phone book on the escort page to a guest.
Yeah.
You'll get in trouble. But I probably 3
Yeah.
times they asked me for, and it was never anything hard. It was hard, like heroin or coke. It was always marijuana.
Yeah.
And I would always kind of shake my head. I said, no, there's nothing I can do to help you there. Cab and limo drivers, they can
Yeah.
maybe point you in the right direction.
Yeah. And I got to ask, like I said, it wasn't illegal, but things that were, I don't want to call it kinky or
Yeah.
group sex.
Yeah.
They wanted group sex. So we told them about the Red Rooster, which was the club, and that's consenting adults.
Yeah.
And I can give you kind of directions or how to get in contact with these people.
Yeah.
you
And
know.
I think that was an undefined area.
Yeah.
That the corporation didn't really, the Red Rooster and Green Door.
Yeah.
Were swingers clubs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And technically speaking, they were legitimate,
Yeah.
gainfully
Yeah.
employed businesses.
Yeah. But even the brothels, I got scolded one time about well, I said the guy came up asking. He didn't say like, gee, what should I do? It's Saturday night. I say, hey, go to the whorehouse. I didn't say anything like that, right? He came in there asking. It was a Japanese guy, right? And I'm going over the different names, and then I had to call to arrange so he can go out there. So I said, I'm just doing what I'm paid to do.
Yeah, we did what were called teddy bear runs all the time. We sent them out there. We didn't do anything. But most of the time when people ask me about the brothels, we're going out there for the novelty of it. They wanted a shot glass or a T-shirt or, because, but they still have some great ones out there. But they were called teddy bear runs. Chicken Ranch, Sherry's.
The Cherry Patch.
Cherry Patch. Bertha's Whorehouse. That was the only one that actually used whore.
Yeah.
In fact, I think that one, Bertha's is gone, I think. Sherry's is still there. Sherry's actually has a PGA golf course.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Right? But Pahrump now
hole in one.
Now a great place to go if you want to get out of the city and enjoy wineries.
Yeah. So those things weren't. The other thing, remember, somebody wanted tickets to see Dr. Naughty, who's a stage hypnotist. There's nothing wrong with that either. Yeah. Another thing I got scolded about, because they knew that I knew people in the industry, and we had a mutual friend.
Right.
Dr. Naughty and I never met Dr. Naughty, but I did know we had a mutual friend.
Okay.
So that was something else that, we got, they seem to always think people wanted something squeaky clean,
Yeah.
I did get asked for Viagra. That was another thing. And I was able to,
nice.
Yes, Japanese guests coming in wanting Viagra.
Okay.
And I knew a doctor. I mean, one of the local Dr. Feelgoods, and he was a Japanese guy, and he could speak Japanese, and I'd call him up and I say, I got a guy wanting Viagra.
Okay.
And he said, let me talk to him. And I hear the other guy I hear one side of the phone conversation. I hear the Japanese guy saying, hi, so desu ne, hi, saying yes. Okay, then give the phone back to the concierge. He said, okay, tell him to pick it up at the Walgreens right there. Huh. So he would just issue the prescription for Viagra over the phone. So,
most of the time, concierge is definitely not the concierge you see in movies, as we have stated many times. But most of the time, it wasn't illegal things. It was things we couldn't do, as simple as getting candles.
Yeah.
Candles weren't allowed in the building.
Right.
And
now, one time Stanley had a guy who he had the black AMX card.
Yeah.
And they got a nude model that they could stretch out at, I think it was Pinot Brasserie.
Pinot Brasserie, yeah.
That was there at the time in the back room. They had her spread out there, and they put sushi on her or something like that.
Okay.
I didn't see it. I heard about it, but I remember he arranged that. He was telling me about it.
Yeah.
So that was something. I mean, that actually I think might violate the food code because you have you're putting food in an uncovered body or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was
especially now.
Yeah, especially now.
Well, Jameson, that was it. Not a lot of illegal activity.
No, not a lot of fun. That's what the job was. It was dull.
It's a job. Yeah, it's a job. Well, we hope you enjoyed this. That was our alma mater, the history of the Venetian, a little bit of the history, not complete.
Yeah.
But please fact check us if we got anything wrong. Let us know. We'll be glad to look it up and get the skinny for you. And also, please let us know as we're going to keep going with this series. And please let us know which one you'd like the history of, and we will be glad to get all the information that we can, including current information, what's going on, and or if it's gone, where is it gone, and how'd it go. But let us know all the properties you'd like the information on, and send it to us. Twitter, Facebook, email. Just let us know, and we'll be glad to do that. But welcome to 2021.
Yep, and a farewell to Siegfried.
Oh, farewell to Siegfried. Yes,
Siegfried
absolutely.
and Roy dying 9 months apart.
Yeah.
So there's an end of that era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hopefully they're whatever heaven they get to go to, the cats are there waiting for them, and I think it's great. But yeah, absolutely. I hope someone. It's my personal hope that someone maybe reprises that. Not you can't copy them, but maybe a duo magic team somehow gets going with that, and when we have shows again.
Yeah. People will be wanting that.
Yeah.
And I hope again there's more variety than just another variation of Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah.
I mean it's great for what it is, but can we try something else?
Yeah, I think
No?
so, and I think there's so many entertainers out there that could give us that they just need a chance. So good luck to them. Good luck to everybody with 2021. Yesterday was a big day for our country. Hopefully we can start to stabilize and we can get the virus and the money flowing, and Las Vegas can once again make some plans.
We need to get that virus
Yeah.
under control.
But thanks for listening. John and I'll see you very soon. John, thank you so much. This is
Anytime.
Jamie, and have a great day.